Hello, long time no see. I hope that your winter has been better than mine. Welcome back to the little lore project of Where the Streetlights End, where I tell you a little bit about whatever monster I think is cool this week, whether it be from folklore, from film, or in human form. Like, comment, or subscribe for more horror, history, and lore from me. Yours truly. Today, I'll be telling you a little bit about one of the most interesting and intense midwinter deities from European folklore. One of the many powerful entities associated with the winter solstice, bitter cold, and the darkest time of the year. And of course, one of the many precursors to the modern midwinter big guy. You guessed it, Santa Claus. This will be a summary of the Alpine winter goddess, Frau Perchta. Sometimes referred to as the Christmas witch, or even referred to as a female version of Krampus, but these titles are extremely reductive. Frau Perchta is a powerful goddess of the wintertime, and the traditions built around her hold deep significance for peoples who live in harsher climates. She can be extremely terrifying in some of the ways that she has been depicted, and a failure to meet her standards and act in accordance with her demands can have gruesome consequences. Though she goes by many names, and there are many variations of the same sort of goddess throughout Europe, she represents a universal archetype. Some of her other names include Berchta, Frau Holle, Goe, Herke, and Frau Faste. Don't know if I pronounced those correctly. I'm American. Our chosen name for her today is of course Frau Perchta, which is the name most commonly given to her in the Alpine regions of Central Europe. This is where modern-day Austria and Switzerland lie. She fits into the same sort of midwinter archetype as many other pagan goddesses, representing wisdom, connection with nature, and even showing up in a variety of forms that reflect the trinity of Mother, Maiden, and Crone, as all of the most powerful goddesses tend to do. It is said that when she appears, it is typically with an air of kindness, coming to bestow peace and assistance upon those that she visits. That is, unless she notices disorder or a lack of discipline in the home or family. However, she did not develop such a fearsome reputation by being simply a bit of a neat freak. When Christianity began to take hold in the Alpine region, the stories about our midwinter goddess transformed into something much darker and more frightening than before. Rumors began to circulate that if you did not complete your chores, especially your spinning duties, where you take natural fiber and turn it into a material that can be used for clothing and bedding, spinning, before the winter solstice, Frau Perchta would come to you on that night. You would awaken to see her in her more wretched form, that of the hag, rather than the silver glowing beauty she would normally appear as. This hag would pull from her cloak a sharp, curved blade, and she would slice open your torso. Trigger warning. Meat. Without going into the gory details, she would remove your internal bits, meat goop and all, and stuff your body full of garbage. In this sense, the garbage is rocks and dirt, mixed with all of the flax or wool that you did not succeed in spinning. She would then sew you back up, turning you into a sort of realistic scarecrow for your family to find in the morning light. She is incredibly strict with her followers and insists that the customs related to her worship be followed with care. It's not only your chores that you should take heed to complete if you wish to survive Frau Perchta's winter night, however. You must also ensure that your house is very tidy and very clean, everything in its rightful place. You must also leave an offering for her of fish and porridge. And of the more important traditions that you must follow is fast and feast held in her honor. On the 12th night of the darkest winter month, it is Frau Perchta's night. You must not eat anything at all for the 24 hours before the day of her feast. If you must eat, you may only consume fish and gruel. If you either eat before her feast or do not eat on the day of her feast, you will meet the same fate as those who did not complete their chores. i.e., you will become you'll become a stuffed little human guy. If you do abide by the rules set in place by this brutal and strict goddess of the wintertime, she will reward you. It is said that if you complete all of your chores, eat only what you're supposed to when you're supposed to, and keep your home tidy and organized, she will leave a silver coin outside of your door for you. This piece of silver will be left either within or beneath your boots, left out on the doorstep. You know, of course, in a properly tidy home, the work boots are left outside. Here is where she coincides with the more modern idea of Santa Claus. You are punished if you aren't a good follower. If you don't follow the rules and do your chores and keep your house clean, you are punished. If you are naughty, you get a lump of coal in your stocking, you see. But if you are good, if you do everything that you are told to do, and you keep up with your chores and you do your part in your home, you are rewarded with a shiny silver coin, or toys. And in this way, she is very similar to other wintertime deities. That is why Santa Claus in the Western culture now is sort of a conglomerate, a big chimera made up of little small details from the lore regarding many, many other winter deities, and Frau Perchta is only one of them, as I'm sure if you watch channels like mine, you may have heard of some other ones, by now. But that is the thing that makes her somewhat similar to Santa Claus, and why I said that she is one of the precursors to him earlier in this episode. Anyway, stories like these paint Frau Perchta as a violent capitalist. Her obsession with producing materials and working in order to earn your right to live and being rewarded with monetary compensation don't seem like the traits of an ancient goddess from humble townships within harsh regions. Like I mentioned, that aligns more closely with our modern-day Santa Claus in our capitalistic Western culture of the 2020s. Oh, when am I? Like I said, the bulk of these stories were told after Roman Catholicism had begun to find popularity in the Alpine region of Central Europe, where Frau Perchta was originally from. The ideas of economy had been closely tied into the traditions of Roman Catholicism, with the integration of concepts such as tithes, the church being in charge of imperial expansion, and the idea that the churches be the primary holders of wealth within the empire leaked into the older stories of Frau Perchta. In pre-Christian times, she was honored as the being who granted mankind the skills and knowledge needed to spin materials like flax and wool into the necessary household items, in particular warm clothing. This is why many times she is referred to as the spinning room lady, because she is the deity who looks over and oversees, to be a bit redundant, the work of making clothing, making bedding, making carpets and rugs, creating warmth for inside of your home during these cold nights. What mattered most to these ancient cultures was survival in those dark and frozen winter days. This meant that families needed to work together and make sure that all of the work had been done before winter became too aggressive for them, to get everything done so that they can stay fed and warm over the months until the thaw of springtime. This is why she is called the spinning room lady. She presided over the ideas of familial obligation, community cooperation, and personal responsibility, because without these ideals, people may not survive on those coldest nights. When you think about it in terms of survival, very few things could be more important than this, especially in high altitudes in northern climates. In the wintertime, you need fire, you need wood for the fire, you need warm clothes, and you need enough food to have been harvested to last until more food is available, right? And so most of the deities about winter during this time most of what they do is overlook and teach and punish failures regarding the production of warm clothes, food, and raw materials that would keep people alive. They were used as sort of boogeymen in some ways to encourage, politely or not, families and individuals to do the work that needed done so everyone didn't die. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but it's still really cool. An interesting additional fact about Frau Perchta is that she is very closely associated with the wild hunt. Now, the wild hunt is sort of when many deities, entities, demons, ghosts, spirits, gods, goddesses fly across the night sky during winter. I would have to look further into what they do or why they do it, but it's in a lot of European paganism, it's a very important event, and it's really intense because all of the gods and goddesses are flying across the sky, you know? And some say that Frau Perchta is one of the leaders of this godly stampede. She leads a horde of spirits through the night sky, including the Perchten. The Perchten are the goddess's little helper creatures, to put it nicely. They're depicted as rather demonic-like entities, and they bear a rather distinct similarity to Krampus, if you know about him. There are theories that Krampus is in fact one of Frau Perchta's followers, because they're said to appear the same way, with the goat horns and the hooves and the shaggy fur. And Krampus also originates from the same general area as Frau Perchta and her creepy little friends. Here she fits in with Santa Claus a little bit again, because Santa Claus has his worker-helper elves, and she has her worker-helper Perchten. They're just way different. There are other winter solstice and wintertime deities from the area where the main guy, the main god or goddess or what have you, has little helpers. For example, Gryla. A lot of people suggested that I do a video on her over the December break, but some stuff came up, so this is what you get. But she has the Yule lads who follow her around and do her bidding. It's an interesting thing that comes up a lot with wintertime deities. Anyway, that's my little summary of Frau Perchta, the midwinter goddess from the alpine regions of Central Europe. She is one of my favorite entities, probably one of the first ones that I did a personal deep dive into when I was looking up the origins of Christmas years and years ago, because I just, that's what you do when you have ADHD. I thought she was the coolest of them all. And so I decided to tell you guys about her, and because she does the whole 12 days, 12th day of Christmas thing since the Christianity combined itself with her story, technically January 2nd isn't too late to talk about her. Is it? I don't think it is. Anyway, thank you for coming to another episode of Little Lore from my project Where the Streetlights End. I will be having another big episode for you soon. I'm sorry about the long break. Life is terrible. I love you.